everybody, welcome to my channel, Miss Criticizer 2021. Happy New Year, y'all. Hope you all are doing well. And hey, we just have to be positive for this new year. Now, I just came across this trending video about Madam Joyce, who is a very, I'll say, a popular, personality in these blog streets. You know, she's a podcaster. And it's a snippet of an upcoming podcast show where she specifically said that London men are broke.
There's one thing I would say about London men is they are so attractive, but my golly gee, are they broke? Like
Nigerian men take pride in spending.
A lot of times girls think that guys spend because they like them. It's because they like themselves. They have
They
their
got
pride.
pride.
I agree, actually.
They are very shameless in London. Because if you guys, if they didn't have the pride here, they probably wouldn't spend. It's like, who's this guy? They're prideful, so they're like, I don't want this girl to think I'm broke. I don't want. They don't mind if you like think I'm suffering in London. They don't mind if you like wow. in this single bed. It doesn't matter. They're so shameless. They don't mind a girl. They'll be looking at them thinking, who's this girl? It's honestly, I love how proud the men are, and regardless of.
So that was a snippet that made a lot of noise and everything. And as you can see, somebody also said, well, Nigerian guys are not really like that. Now, Madam Joyce replied saying that the guys, they will only spend because they don't want to hurt their own ego. And it's just, like I said, to protect their own ego and all that. They're not spending out of their own heart. That's just how I perceive it. Now, again, I have not watched the full podcast. This is just a snippet of the podcast that is making round. And I know that, hey, controversy sells, you know, so it's until I also watch the full video. Now, there were also other responses to this video on TikTok, you know, where people will share their own opinion. Now, many people will not like to hear this, you know, but I've been hearing of this for quite some time now. Like, oh, London guys are stingy, they don't like to spend, they're very greedy, they're just... Again, they just don't want to spend like that, you know, they don't give their all. So that's something that I've heard for a while now. And, you know, I've been living in the UK. I have not really been living in the UK for that long, you know. I have not lived up to a decade. And also, I've never lived in London. I live in the UK, but I don't live in London. So I always hear these stories, and I also hear stories of my friends in London that had similar experiences. So I can only go by what some people have said. Yeah, I can only go by. I personally, I don't have that experience. Now, because I've lived in the Netherlands, you know, that's another story on its own. And I'm only talking within the black community. You know, I've never dated out of my race. Again, based on the things that I've seen in the Netherlands, I don't want to step on people's toes, but I would just have to, you know, I'm just giving my honest opinion. Close friends that I had, they were beautiful, but they still unfortunately ended up single. It is hard to find a man over there. Now in London, I always thought, oh, okay, in London it is going to be a bit much better and all that, but then I'm hearing these stories. Now, all that aside, because I want to be unbiased, yeah? First of all, you know, we're not expecting men to spend on us. I'm speaking for myself, yeah? Everybody with their own opinion, everybody with what they want to say. Now, I feel for a first date, personally, a man has to spend on the first date. I would not advise anybody to say, oh, 50-50. No, we're not going to do that. It's the first date. You're a man, you're a hunter. At least you need to spend on that first date. Just go out to a restaurant, take her to a cinema, just somewhere out. And I'm not saying it needs to be extravagant. No, I'm being very realistic. Because like I said, to me, a man is a hunter. And again, we're women. That's our nature. You would need to spend on the first date. Now, if their second date comes along or third date, something else, and the girl offers like, okay, I would like to pay for myself or like to, that's not an issue because it's a first impression. You go from there. Also, I personally feel that sometimes feminist has kind of ruined this whole thing for us women. Oh, because now it seems like some men, they don't want to put in the effort anymore. You know, yes, I'm glad that we as women, we have the right to work, we have the right to be independent and all that, but it should be to a certain extent. It should not be to the extent where now the guys feel like, hey, I don't need to bother because, hey, she's Miss Independent, we're going 50-50. And then if you look at it at the long run, how has it benefited us? How has it benefited us? Because by nature, for example, if we live together, we, the women, we do basically most of the household things. We give some of the guys advice on so many things. And then it's like, you know, we're still paying 50-50. Who is more at a disadvantage? And I'm just talking about like natural roles. Again, these are the things. Now, let me go to, again, based on what she said. I cannot speak for the London guys that are broke. Again, I've never been involved with one of them. I'm just going by what I heard. Now, when we're talking about London, yeah? Anything aside, when we're talking about London, London is one of the most expensive cities in the whole of UK. I'll even say one of the most expensive cities in the whole of Europe. But we're no longer in Europe. But that's just what it is. It's very, very expensive. The cost of living in London is extremely, extremely high. Very, very high. And let's just be honest, most, and I'm just talking about most, the people in our demographics, you know. Most of the guys in London who I'll say they're under 30 years old, most, roughly 80%, under 30 years old, they still, and they're single, they still live with their parents. Most still live with their parents because you know what? Buying a house in London is extremely expensive. The house prices are extremely, extremely high. Who can put a deposit up for, let's say, 50k and above for a house? So, even aside from that, now we're not even in recession. We're basically in depression at the moment. Again, cost of living is high, cost of food, cost of clothes, cost of everything, your council tax, your credit card interest, everything. The cost of everything is extremely high. So at the end of the day, when you're left with whatever you're left with, and I'm speaking for both male and female, what are you left with? And so maybe these guys too, they're also being careful with how they spend. You know, again, I cannot speak for all. I'm not trying to be a pick-me, but sometimes they feel like, oh, I don't want to waste my time with this girl. Is she worth it? If she's worth it, I'll spend. If she's not, I'm not going to spend. It's a bit 50-50. I cannot speak for them. You know, and also with this same notion. So I'm a bit conflicted with that. I'm just speaking on that both sides. In general, UK, we're really, really struggling. You know, these are hard times. And so I think for some, it's unintentional for them to be like that. But again, like I said, as a traditional woman, you know, that's just how we're built. We're not saying that, oh, we're being gold diggers and the guy always has to be spending on us and basically giving us an allowance. No, but at least it should not be the other way around, because we have seen it. And I am also of the notion that sometimes as a woman, you date or you involve yourself with a guy who earns slightly more than you. You know, I've seen relationships where the woman earns more than the guy. They're working out well. And again, that's not to judge them. We've all been in that situation. But like I said, sometimes some men, they have egos. And I think what matters is a man who is hardworking. He might not earn more than you, but he's hardworking. There's a vision there. He's not lazy. So there's something there. But again, there are also some men, they have egos, you know. They cannot stand it if their woman earns more than them. And like they say, a broke man has no options. Men who have money, they eventually have options. And we've seen situations where the woman has held the guy down. Like the guy had nothing, and the moment the guy started getting money and he started getting things, he eventually left the woman in the dust. So that's just sometimes the things that I am weighing in. Like I said, I cannot specifically talk about London. I can talk about the cost of living, but also my girls, you know what, sometimes you got to stop relying on these men for money. You know, build yourself up, be independent, but at the end of the day, like I said, you know, broaden your horizon. If you feel like London men are not it, maybe date out of London. You know, there are so many cities and counties in the UK. You're not limited to the same circle. If it's not working, if you keep coming across the same type of guys in the same circle, maybe you have to go out of that circle. There's more to UK than just London. Experiment, try those things. If you keep having the same thing, because the dynamics are different. If you travel out of London, you see that most young guys, they're able to get their own place, whether it's rental or whether it's an owned property, compared to London guys. So like I said, you don't have to limit yourself. Again, maybe some of these girls too, they're also comparing themselves, comparing like the real Nigerian guys they have to the London ones. You also have Nigerian born in London, you know, but again, they're London guys at the end of the day, you know, they grew up here, so things are a bit more different. Yeah, so that's just my opinion. Instead of complaining, I've seen all these videos, I keep hearing it all the time, and yes, the dynamic is quite different, but what can you do about it? If you don't like it, go out. You know, this constant videos about, oh, these guys, they don't do this, they don't do that. Listen, I get it. Sometimes they don't have their priorities right, you know. They go to Dirty December in Ghana or in Nigeria, enjoy, spend all their money, waste all their money, and they come back still broke and they complain. But they go there just to flex. That's how they just show, like, hey, at least the little money that I was able to save, you know, I can just flex and I can pop, buy bottles, you know, flex in town, rent a car, and all those things. And then when they're back, none. And also, like I said, for guys, maybe they just want to spend on the right girl. You know, it's not like every single girl they keep dating and then the girl just maybe passes by, uses him, and then just goes. So like I said, I see two sides of the things. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this, you know. I'm not a London girl, but let me know what you think about this. Thank you. Bye bye.